Tonight, you will not just hear a story. You will enter a depth where darkness is no longer a concept, but a reality. Welcome to Darkness Tells, where we take you into the corners of your mind you never dared to imagine. There are things that should never be spoken of. There are memories that should be buried forever. But if you are listening to this, it means you are ready, or think you are. But remember, what you are about to hear is not just a series of events. It is a ritual, a small crack in reality, where memory, truth, and fear merge into one. Have you ever heard of strange disappearances, of a tape that makes people lose sleep for weeks, or a film that seems like art but is actually a summoning ritual? Those things are not legends, they are not jokes, and Level 7 is where they all come together, a level where memories are no longer yours alone but shared, contagious, and passed on to each and every one of you. Today, Darkness Tells will tell you about restless souls, cursed tapes, and historical moments where the truth was hidden by death. We won't scream to scare you. We'll whisper, because sometimes it's what you hear in silence that haunts you forever. If you're a lover of truth, of the strange, and willing to face secrets not meant for the light, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe to Darkness Tells so you don't miss any more doors that open. Like if you've ever heard footsteps in the night when no one was there, and share to warn your friends, because they might be next. Ready? The door is opening, and on the other side, memories are waiting for you. Birds aren't real. The message sounds like a joke, but people are serious. They believe that from 1959 to 1971, the U.S. government exterminated all natural birds and replaced them with small drones shaped like birds for surveillance. Think it's a joke? Peter McIndoe, 23, the founder of the movement, has participated in protests, gone live in stadiums, on Twitter ceilings, on TV. Hundreds of thousands of people are watching. They believe that birds sit on power lines to charge their batteries. Bird droppings on cars are just to mark targets. They believe that John F. Kennedy was assassinated because he opposed bird extermination. And then, in a 2022 interview, Peter admitted that this was just a satirical movement. But for some people, especially those who have revealed their email addresses on the forum to support the birds, they still do not believe it is a hoax. When people sprinkle salt on the newly cut frog legs, they suddenly dance. Actually, it is not because the soul has returned, but because the salt stimulates the remaining nerves, causing the muscles to twitch regularly. However, on one occasion, the legs jumped so much that they flew off the plate and dragged across the table as if under control. Mrs. Doan, who prepared the dish, had to go to the hospital because she fainted from panic. The doctor only said one sentence: "Next time, make sure it is from the dead legs." In the 1950s, agricultural scientists were having a headache because of the low mating rate of male turkeys. And so scholars Martin Sheen and Edward Hale decided to test a method that was seductive. They used stuffed turkeys with heads, wings, and eyes. Then slowly the festival passed until only a small wrinkled head remained on the wooden pole. And surprisingly, the rooster still jumped in to try to mate. They concluded male turkeys don't need affection. They just need a head. Anyone want to change their eye color permanently with a needle? Since 2017, the trend of eye tattooing has spread. A Canadian artist named Kat Gallinger became a disaster. After getting purple eye tattoos, the solution oozed all over the hollow. The eyes swelled up, vision blurred forever. Hundreds of people on TikTok recounted pink eyes, neon green eyes, completely black eyes. But at night, when the mirror was lit, the thing reflected back was not a human eye. It was like the eye socket of a specific creature was watching you. Ron Marai only intended to buy a cup of coffee at McDonald's in Canada, but when he finished the cup, he opened the lid to take the last sip and saw the body of a mouse floating inside. Dark brown, hair intact, eyes wide open. Another, John Agnini of New York, bit into a hard object in his Subway sandwich. It was a 6-inch knife. And then there was the diner at the Fancy Bull and Bear who ordered a $40 filet mignon, but in his first bite was a bloody tampon. Still in the mood for a quick bite, A 17-year-old boy in India was rushed to the hospital with jaw pain. Doctors thought he had wisdom teeth. But then they discovered 232 teeth crowded into his gums like a honeycomb. It took them 7 hours to remove them all. Some were oddly shaped like claws, ivory, even saw-like. No one knows why, it may be genetic, but nightmares of a smile that never stopped haunting the nurse on duty that night. Strasbourg, France, 1518. A woman named Frau Trophea walked out into the street and started dancing. No music, no reason, just dancing. At first people laughed. Then others joined in. 34 people, then 100, then 400. They danced non-stop. No food, no sleep, no rest, until their hearts stopped. People thought it was demonic possession, a plague, traditional drugs. But to this day, the dancing plague remains an unsolved medical mystery, and sometimes they say on damp nights in Strasbourg, you can still hear footsteps, spinning in despair. In a dark compartment under a small movie theater projector in Ohio, a wooden puppet was found forgotten in a suitcase from the 1940s. On its forehead was engraved the words, "My name is Jimmy. Don't call me in the dark." Just a PR stunt? That's what the theater manager suspected. Until the security camera caught the shaking suitcase and the shrill laughter in the dark. And that night, Theater 3 chose not to turn on the lights. The president only heard a creepy voice. Today, I am in the audience. In 2016, the mannequin challenge became a craze in the US. Everyone was filming themselves standing still like a model. Fun. Until a group of students in a dormitory in Indiana realized that the person in the video was not a classmate. The woman stood at the end of the hallway, her hood up, silently standing perfectly still. They thought it was a student playing a game until they finished filming the video, turned on the lights, and turned the controls back to normal. The person at the end of the hallway was gone. The camera recorded. Her arm rotated 180 degrees before disintegrating into a mass. In the Tongass National Forest, Alaska, many drivers have been logging since the 80s, but whenever someone mentioned Charlie, the eyeless logging driver, it became a curse. Charlie was the only one who worked the night shift without complaining. He always had his hood up and his face covered. When the camera was placed in the cabin because of suspicion that Charlie had stolen gasoline, viewers were horrified. Charlie's face had no eyes, just white, healthy skin and breathing smoke from the nostrils. Since the night Charlie disappeared, cabin number 6 has been closed at 3:03 a.m., and whoever opens the door will hear the sound of a harmonica coming from inside. At a small 24-hour store in Michigan, the camera captured a woman entering at 2:21 a.m. She was wearing a white robe, her long hair covering her face. The cashier was just a student working part-time, not suspicious. But when she put the milk carton on the counter, everything around her was in a mess. The TV was noisy. The money counter stopped. She said very softly, "I want something expired, like me." When she looked back at the camera, the video was grainy, but in the frame it was clear it was not a person. Instead, it was a skeleton-like figure, legless, sliding across the floor, leaving a chilling mark. On the 3rd floor of Chicago's Central Library, a large mirror in the corner of the historic district had been pierced for years. People who looked at it often felt headaches or lost consciousness. Users of the app used cameras to film to prove that everything was normal, until a young medical student turned to the mirror and cast a spell. In the video, the face in the mirror was not hers, but an old woman with black hair, a mark from her forehead to her chin. On her forearm was a gray mark. Level 2 is open. Graham was not a person, not a creature. He was a biological product designed by medical experts to illustrate the possibility of survival if humans evolved to withstand all kinds of car crashes. Graham's head was flat, with no neck. His skin was as thick as a rhinoceros, his ribs bulging into patches. The rib cage is a mass of elastic spongy tissue. The abdomen protrudes like a compressed air tank. Graham was displayed at a traffic education exhibition in Melbourne. But what they didn't expect was that people who stood near Graham for more than 3 minutes often experienced strange symptoms: rapid heartbeat, dizziness, feeling like someone was looking at them from the back of their neck. Some people say Graham can see. In a behind-the-scenes video, a cleaning staff accidentally filmed the scene when the room lights were off. Graham's lips moved and his round eyes, like balloons, slowly inflated. He didn't close his eyes, because perhaps he never needed to close them. On the night of November 24th, 2009, John Edward Jones, his brother, and a group of friends decided to explore Nutty Putty Cave, a famous narrow cave maze in Utah. John used to be a professional camper, but this time he chose the wrong tunnel called the Birth Canal, the narrowest gap. He tried to squeeze through first. His tall body stuck. When he realized there was no way back, John was hanging upside down, his head down, his chest pressed against the rock. Blood was flowing backwards, his lungs could not expand. His body was gradually turning purple. Rescuers arrived. A pulley system was set up, but the rope broke. John slid further back, his neck bent, his spine under pressure. After 27 hours of struggling in the dark, with prayers echoing from the cliff, his heart stopped. The body could not be retrieved. Nutty Putty Cave was sealed forever with concrete, a stone tomb where the living no longer enter and the dead and forever lie. In the 1950s, in the Soviet Union, Dr. Vladimir Demikov created something that humanity had never imagined: a two-headed dog. By grafting the head of a puppy onto the neck of an adult dog, he created a creature with two mouths, two breathing rhythms, but only one heart. The recorded video shows two heads, wagging their tails, licking the caretaker's hand. But the secondary head never lived long. It collapsed, trembled, and bled from its connected neck. Those who watched the experiment live recounted, "I saw the pain in those eyes. It didn't want to live, but couldn't die either." To this day, no one has been able to explain why both heads responded to the call of one's name. It was as if, in that body that was cut in half, there was a soul that didn't know which part it belonged to. Cymothoa exigua, the most unique and terrifying parasite in the ocean. They enter the fish's mouth through the gills, attach to the tongue, and suck out all the blood, causing the tongue to rot. When the tongue falls off, they automatically attach to the remaining tissue and become a new tongue. Not only did the fish survive, it still used this tongue to eat, to drowning out the sound, to survive. But the question is, who was controlling the fish at that time? It or the parasite? Many videos online recorded the moment when chefs discovered an ivory-white creature with black eyes blinking, moving as if laughing from inside the fish's throat. Some say if you eat that animal, you will feel a strange sensation when swallowing, as if something is crawling in your throat. In the Alaskan woods, there is an isolated logging station where only a few drivers are brave enough to drive the log trucks at night. But no one dares to go near cabin number 6, where a man named Charlie used to work the night shift. Charlie never spoke, always wore a hood, no smoking, no eating or drinking. Cabin number 6 was only seen to be lit until 3:03 a.m. Then it went out. Once the supervisor placed a hidden camera in the cabin. The first few clips were normal, until Charlie turned around. The face had no eyes, not glasses, but empty. Two deep holes like tombs, mouths curved as if smiling. From then on, cabin 6 was sealed. But people said if you stood outside the door at 3:03 a.m. and knocked 3 times, you would hear the harmonica, the sad, repetitive music of a man who never slept. Cabin 6 is located halfway up a remote logging road in Alaska, where snow covers the year and the inky black forest swallows all sound. Here, people still tell each other about Charlie, the eyeless man who used to work the night shift, who has not left the cabin since the winter of 1987. At first, Charlie was a silent driver. No one heard his voice, only his empty eyes, as if they had been sucked out of all light. Every night, his cabin lights would stay on until exactly 3:03 a.m., then go out. After a while, people realized that something was wrong with cabin number 6. There was a musty, rusty smell, and occasionally a sad harmonica played over and over again. A supervisor secretly set up a surveillance camera inside. The footage showed Charlie sitting motionless for hours, not moving. But at 3:02 a.m., he turned his head and looked straight into the lens, even though he had no eyes. For 3 seconds, the frame was heavily grainy. When it returned to normal, Charlie had disappeared. The cabin was sealed off from then on. But the rumor persisted. If you stood in front of the cabin door at exactly 3:03 a.m. and knocked 3 times, you would hear the harmonica coming from the darkness, and then see an eyeless man standing behind you in the truck mirror. John Edward Jones is a cave lover, but Nutty Putty Cave is where that love turns into a living nightmare. On the night of November 24th, 2009, John and a group of friends entered the famous narrow cave system in Utah, looking for a challenge in the rock crevice nicknamed the Canal of Life, a place that has nearly killed many people. John went in head first. He thought he could get through, but his body, nearly 6 feet tall, was stuck. All efforts to turn around were in vain. Blood rushed to his brain. His 2 lungs pressed against his ribs. The first feeling was suffocation. The next feeling was being imprisoned in his own body. The rescue team mobilized pulleys and ropes, trying for 27 hours. The rope broke. John slid deeper. Eyes closed, he whispered a final prayer. Darkness swallowed all hope. His heart stopped beating before the first light of dawn could touch the rock. They couldn't get his body out. The cave was sealed forever with concrete, a deep grave where only the echoes of his silent cries for help still rang out every night. Graham was an educational project, a creature designed to mimic humans if they had evolved to survive a traffic accident. But the way he existed made it impossible to see him as a product of pure science. Graham's face was flat, neckless. His skin was thick and gray like burnt rubber. His eyes were round and motionless. Whenever people stood near him for too long, they began to experience symptoms: rapid heartbeat, shaking hands, as if someone were looking into their heads. A sanitation worker once filmed a video with the lights off. Graham's eyes slowly bulged, his lips moving silently. No one could understand what he was saying, but some people burst into tears after watching the video. There is a theory that Graham is not simply a model, but the inhabitant of something that was once human, or wanted to be human. Soviet Union, 1950s. Dr. Vladimir Demikov performs an experiment that makes the world shudder, grafting the head of a puppy onto the neck of an adult dog. The 2 heads work independently. One licks the hand, the other makes strange sounds. Archived video shows both heads reacting when their names are called. But the scary thing is, when one head sleeps, the other head also sleeps. It's as if they share a single consciousness, a soul, a split ego. Those animals don't live long, but they don't die quickly. Every time one head starts to twitch, the other head screams, eyes filled with fear. Someone once said he heard a 2-headed dog in the lab whimpering, in human language, whispering, "Who am I? What am I?" Cimothoa exigua, the only parasite that replaces an organ in its host while leaving the host alive. It burrows into the gills of fish, sucks the blood from the tongue until it falls off. Then it attaches itself as a new tongue. Sounds like a symbiotic relationship. But who is in control? Several Japanese fishermen have had accidents after eating fish carrying this parasite. They reported that after swallowing, they felt as if something was moving in their throat. One man choked to the point of not breathing. Doctors cut open his neck and found a waxy white creature crawling up his larynx. It was trying to replace the host's voice, and perhaps it succeeded for some of us. On April 24, 1967, Vladimir Komarov boarded the Soyuz 1 spacecraft with a heavy heart. He knew that the entire technical system of the spacecraft contained 203 unfixed errors. But Komarov accepted, not because of his faith in Soviet technology, but because of his friend Yuri Gagarin. If Komarov refused, Gagarin would take his place. Soyuz 1 hurtled through space like a coffin draped in a red cloth. The solar panels failed to open, the control systems went haywire, the spacecraft spun out of control. And when Komarov tried to return to Earth, everything was gone. Although his radio was still working, Komarov's voice was only a gasp. The main parachute system failed. The auxiliary parachute was twisted. He knew he was going to die, and according to the recording technician, Komarov was screaming, not out of fear, but out of anger, angry at the people who had let him aboard this unreliable spacecraft. Soyuz 1 fell freely. It exploded on impact, leaving behind a blackened mass of steel and a piece of the heel bone intact. In the recording box, only a muffled sob echoed from the void. "I'm falling. I'm sorry, Yuri." USSR, 1954. Vladimir Demikov conducted the most shocking biological experiment in history. He grafted the head of a puppy onto the body of a large dog. The two heads lived side by side, drank water, growled, but never looked at each other. They recorded images of both heads licking the experimenter's hand, reacting to their names. But then the auxiliary head began to bleed. After a few days, that head twitched continuously, then fell silent forever. Strangely, the remaining head did not eat or bark. Instead, it whined, its eyes wide open and unblinking, staring at the ceiling as if something had just left it. One night, scientists recorded an incomprehensible screech coming from the lab. When examined, the main dog's head, even though it had been dead for 3 hours, was still weeping. Noma is the embodiment of poverty, of corrupt health care, and of neglect. Starting with a sore in the mouth, Noma spreads like wildfire. Within days, a part of the cheek, nose, or lip will become gangrenous and fall off the face. The wound does not bleed. It oozes a black rotting fluid. 90% of Noma sufferers die within 2 weeks. Those who survive and are no longer called human, they are hidden from the village, called demons, stoned when they try to find water. Some are locked in their homes, mirrors smashed so they cannot see themselves. Some humanitarian organizations try to cure them with reconstructive surgery, but in some cases, when they are anesthetized for surgery, the patient screams like they are in hell. Is it because of the pain, or because they have seen themselves, what they really are, in those delirious trances? In 2001, in an abandoned house in Poughkeepsie, New York, police discovered 800 VHS tapes. None of them were home movies. All were graphic confessions, torture, mutilation, rape, and murder, in chilling detail down to every gasp. One tape showed a woman with her mouth sewn shut, forced to look at the corpse of a loved one. Another showed a man reading poetry to a decomposing corpse, his face eerily calm. Despite the fact that this is a fake documentary film created by Hollywood, many viewers were hospitalized for psychological shock after watching it. They said nothing, only mumbled about the room without a door, the man without a shadow, and the whispering from the screen even when the TV was off. Some people think that those scenes are too real because they are not created, they are remembered. Everything you just heard, from the groans behind the skin grafts to the screams of people falling in the burning compartment, is proof. Proof that the human body is not inviolable. Every cell can betray, every sense can be hijacked, and every soul can be torn apart, divided into many pieces, locked in the chest of entities that are no longer human. Level 5 is not just physical torture, it is the level where memory betrays you, emotions become weapons against you. When you see a child smiling but his eyes are staring straight into a memory you've never told anyone, you call your name, but all that comes out is a hideous alien sound, and before you can wonder why your body is so cold, your hand automatically opens the door, inviting something outside to enter. New Orleans, 1834. Amidst the acrid smell of smoke at the back of a prestigious mansion, flames burst from Madame Delphine Lalaury's kitchen. It seems like a panic attack, but when the fire department arrives, the wooden door is locked, revealing the truth that has been around for hundreds of years. Behind the door, there is a dark room where skinned bodies lie, eyes and hands punched into wooden coffins. A little girl is only alive because she's chained to the ceiling. From that day on, everyone who walks down Royal Street at night hears the creaking of chains on the wooden floor. Someone saw a tall, thin shadow standing on the balcony, legless, eyeless. But time cannot erase it. More than 100 years have passed, but the souls of the flesh and blood of Z Royal Street are still trapped. Gabrielle Lavallee was found with an arm missing, her teeth hacked out with a saw, and her body slashed with a machete. She emerged from the Anthill Kids, a group led by Roch Thériault. He forced his students to cut their wives in half, eat their feces, and nail their faces like shoes. Children born and abandoned were trapped in silence, growing up unaware that the father they lived with was the one who used rusty nails to nail their mother's bones to wooden posts. But even though Roch was killed in the dark, the Anthill Kids still exist. In their dreams, they hear a lullaby sung by a saw, and every time they encounter fire, the image appears, their father laughing on their dead face. Run the Gauntlet, an online game called See the Worst Things in Humanity. The first video is a ladder that separates the soul. Gradually, viewers pass through videos such as a person crushing the waves of hands on a fire, a skinless person shaking his head in the dark, a child being stripped naked in a donkey and lying face down in a mirror. A final video records a scene where a person gouges out his own eyes, then smiles and climbs into the camera. Those who watch either hide or are robbed of a kind of emotional loss. They are still alive but no longer feel. Anneliese Michel, a 23-year-old girl in Germany, is considered a victim facing a monstrous spirit. During 67 exorcisms over 10 months, Anneliese was beaten, tied up, and deprived of food. She squeezed her arms until they bled, licked her urine, and screamed in a deep voice that was not that of a girl. The recording from the exorcism also reads, "We are Judas, Nero, Cain," with Anneliese's voice in the middle, "Please don't, I don't want to die." She died of exhaustion and starvation, but that death was not that of a person, but the partiality of a torn soul. People still hear her voice at night. Ich war nicht bereit. I'm not ready. New Orleans, 1834. A seemingly small fire revealed a gate to hell right in the heart of the aristocratic district. Madame Delphine Lalaurie, a famous lady, hid inside her luxurious mansion a basement containing barbarism beyond imagination. When the firefighters broke through the locked wooden door, they entered a dark bathroom filled with the smell of rust and burning flesh. Bodies were mangled, skin peeled off, hands pinned to wooden chairs with nails as long as scalpels. A woman was still alive, hanging upside down in chains, her eyes no longer bright. Her soft moans echoed through the thick smoke, as if they were no longer of this world. Although the house was destroyed and the owner had fled abroad, many people swore that on damp nights they could still hear the chains in the attic. Tall, thin figures passed by second-story windows, and whispers of blood dripping from the cold brick walls, souls that had never been buried, still there, floating among the bricks and memories. Anthill Kids, not a group of children. It is the cult community founded by Roch Thériault in Canada, where faith is twisted into an instrument of torture, where every human being becomes the experiment of a pervert. The name of the saint. Roch raped, tortured, and beat his paws in the name of purification. He cut people's bodies like an unlicensed doctor, removing teeth with pliers, cutting open stomachs without anesthesia, sawing off arms with a chainsaw. Gabrielle Lavallee, a rare survivor, escaped with a missing arm and a disfigured face. But the most terrifying thing was the children born into that community. They had no real names and were not taught how to love. Many, after leaving that place, still dreamed of being in the forest, their parents in white robes, whispering in Roach's voice, asking them to cut off the bad part. They were still alive, but their souls had rotted. An ancient website, the interface was strangely simple, with only one button: Begin Challenge. But after that click, there was a series of 20 videos, each a slice of the nightmare. From scenes of people setting themselves on fire in a locked room, to mutilations, animal rapes, and even a grainy clip of a strange creature in a sewer screaming in a baby's voice. Viewers challenged each other to run the gauntlet, but no one actually completed it. Survivors reported hearing the sound even when they turned off their computers, a whisper of "turn it back on" echoing in the night. Some destroyed their laptops, some quit their jobs, some disappeared without a trace. Run the gauntlet. It could just be a series of psychologically shocking videos, but if so, why did some people never dare to look in the mirror again after watching it? Germany, 1976. Anneliese Michel, a 23-year-old girl, died after more than 10 months of exorcism. She was diagnosed with schizophrenia, but her family believed she was possessed. After the church approved, 2 priests began the rituals, recording everything. We are Cain. We are Nero. We are Hitler. We are Lucifer. 67 exorcisms, each lasting 4 to 6 hours. Anneliese screamed in a man's voice, banged her head against the wall, tore her clothes, ate spiders, and drank urine. When she died, she weighed only 30 kilograms, her knees were broken from kneeling for too long, her lips were split. But the most haunting thing was the last recording, Anneliese's own voice whispering, "Please don't let me go. I still see them. They haven't left yet." Some who listened to the tape again said that there were at least 3 different voices in the same passage, each with a different emotion, as if her soul had never been released. April 1967. While the world looked up to admire the achievements of space, Vladimir Komarov, a veteran cosmonaut, boarded the Soyuz 1 spacecraft with a predetermined death sentence. He knew the ship had errors, 203 errors, according to the secret report. But he still went because if he didn't, his best friend, Yuri Gagarin, would replace him. What echoed in the final tapes from the control room was no longer human language. It was the throat-wrenching scream of a soul that knew it was plunging into hell. The Soyuz crashed, even without opening. Komarov turned into a mass of black, burnt ash. Only his heel bone remained intact. It is said that on moonless nights in Red Square, if you stand long enough, you will hear the screech of metal, the sound of burning parachutes echoing through the atmosphere. And if you see a charred figure passing by in your rearview mirror, pray, for you have been chosen to hear the last words of a man who will never be buried in peace. Poughkeepsie, New York, an abandoned house, a discovery that plunges an entire task force into nightmares. More than 800 VHS tapes, meticulously recorded, numbered, and containing every stage of the kidnapping, torture, and murder, not just in images, but in sensation. The man called Edward Carver, no biological records, no fingerprints, no DNA, but he is present in every frame, with a blank stare like a soulless man. One victim is found alive, blind, mute, and trembling uncontrollably at the sound of the tape being rewound. She could only utter one sentence. "He's still in there, with me." A retired detective said, "He didn't film it to watch it again. He filmed it to store it. Each tape is a piece of stolen memory, and whoever watches it shares it. It's like a psychic infection." Still want to see it? The film was screened only once, a Serbian film, and since then no one has seen the director, cast, or crew. It was uploaded to the dark web and spread like an indelible curse. Viewers were haunted not only by its morbid content, but by the feeling that someone was watching them from behind the screen. Some viewers committed suicide after watching it. Survivors described, "The images reappear in their dreams, but this time it wasn't a film anymore." One theory circulating is that the film is a summoning ritual, using real images of the souls sacrificed over the decades. The ending, with the protagonist murdering his family and turning to the camera, is said to be the starting point for the spread of the curse. Those who saved the film to their computers would hear the crying in the audio file weeks later, even after deleting it. It started as an internet challenge. Watch a series of 20 videos of increasing horror. It seemed like a simple thrill until the first person gouged out their own eyes in their bedroom after watching the 17th clip. Each video was a different level of visual, auditory, and mental torture. The 20th video, called The Mirror 1, contained no images, only sound. But when the player turned it on, the computer camera turned on as well, and they saw themselves, but a version, being cut apart by someone behind them, and they felt nothing but a chill running down their spine. One survivor described it this way: "I thought I was just watching a video, but I was actually recording something else watching me." The site has since disappeared, but challenge invitations continue to be sent via email, hidden under the usual subject lines. You've been selected. Remember when we talked about memories? It seems some of them have found a new home, you. We've just crossed level 7, the void. The place where there is no longer any boundary between reality and illusion, between life and death. A level where every whisper you hear could be the last message from a soul that hasn't left yet, or a warning just for you. And if you still think what you just heard is fiction, then maybe you should check the shadows in your room, because sometimes they don't move with you, they follow you. The void is the final destination of secrets that shouldn't exist, but what makes it most terrifying isn't the entities you see, but the feeling that they're still around, watching, listening, and waiting for an opportunity, because when a memory is told, it lives once more in the listener's mind. You might be thinking, I just listen for fun. But think about it. How many times have you felt a chill down your spine when a video ends? How many times have you heard a strange noise at 3 a.m.? How many times have you felt like something was watching you from the screen? There are many scary things in this world, but the scariest things are the ones you can't name. Stay alert, be careful, and never watch this video alone at night. If you feel like what you've just experienced has made you shiver, click like to confirm that you're still here. Subscribe to the Darkness Tells channel so you don't miss out on more stories, where each video is a curtain lifted, revealing a layer of forgotten memories. And if you're really brave, share this video with your friends, but be sure to warn them first. Not everyone can come back from that depth. Darkness Tells will be back. But are you sure you'll be strong enough to listen again? Good night, if you dare to close your eyes.